Every morning, the countdown begins for the markets with meticulous research and analysis designed to help you capitalize on the trading day. Beaming live from the CNBC TV 18 Motilal Oswal studio.
Hello and welcome to Bazaar Morning Call. We are coming to you live from the CNBC TV 18 Motilal Oswal studio. I'm Nigel, and with me we have Mangalam as well as Rima, who's back from Japan. Hi guys, good morning. How are you feeling?
Rima, arigato, that's what they say.
Arigato gozaimasu. Thank you very much.
Okay.
I can't believe I was away for 2 weeks. It just felt like I was away for a weekend, you know. But just like that, this whole first half of the year is coming to an end. And it's been one wild round trip for the equity market. So much has happened. It's been anything but quiet the first half.
This weekend, I have to tell you, was the first in so many where you didn't have to worry about which country is talking about another, which one has, attacked or made some statements which are attacking. Thankfully, this time around, all you had to look for were domestic cues, were foreign cues, things of economic, importance in nature as against any geopolitical. So that to that extent, that was a good weekend.
Well, weekend's always good, Mangalam. We've got a lot of action with regard to markets. We've got a big pharma deal as well that's been announced. So not short of action on that front. So let's get straight to it.
Let's get straight to it. And what a nice pitch this is for, all the batters, if you have to look at it, because the S&P 500, we're talking about how the Indian markets have done extremely well over the last 1 week or so. The S&P 500 has actually gone ahead and hit a fresh record high. In fact, this month itself, given all the uncertainty, given everything that's taking place in the world, the Dow is up nearly 4%, S&P 500 4.5%, and Nasdaq, the tech-heavy index, up around 6.1%. Even if you look at the other macros, they're fairly well behaved. The dollar index close to around 97. Chartists are speaking about, a further downtrend out there. The US bond yield is well behaved at 4.28, irrespective of the conversation that's taking place around Donald Trump and Jerome Powell. Brent prices also fairly contained at $67. Remember, it was just last week that they were closing in on $80, and now we're sub $70 itself. The key to track now from here on would be the negotiations between US and other countries. We saw a glimpse of the volatility around that on Friday. The Dow was doing extremely well, and then Donald Trump went ahead and posted on Truth Social that all discussions with Canada have been terminated. But thereafter, we had the Commerce Secretary come and say the framework between US and China has been finalized, and they will soon reach, deals with 10 major trading partners. So all these factors are something that the street will be watching out for from a geopolitical standpoint. But from a US domestic standpoint, most definitely keep an eye out on the passing of the Trump's big, beautiful bill, which would increase spending out there. And if US does well, Nasdaq does well, what does well here in India? We've seen banks do extremely well. We've seen Reliance also pull back. It's the IT index that we'll be watching out for. As we move towards the start of the result season, the IT index about 15% away from a 52-week high. What do we hear from experts here? What does the global scenario look like out here? All of that, the IT index will have to do the heavy lifting around. Rima, that's about the global cues, but a lot of domestic cues too.
Indeed, but just quickly, let's recap what happened on Wall Street on Friday. Very strong finish. The S&P 500 and the Nasdaq surging about 0.5%. The Dow rallied 1% on Friday. The S&P 500 climbing to its highest level since the 19th of February. And the Nasdaq has reclaimed its record closing high for the first time since the 16th of December last year. The Dow is still about 2.5-3% shy of its all-time peak. The year-to-date, as Mangalam said, key indices in the US are up about 4.5%. But you know what stands out is this rebound that we've seen.
Yep.
In early April, I think 8th of April was the day when the US indices tanked on fears of the tariff. And since then, the rebound has been nothing short of historic. The S&P 500 is 24% up from its April low, and this marks the fastest recovery ever from a 15% decline, bouncing back in less than 90 days. Sentiment did turn a bit sour, as Mangalam was pointing out, on account of the talks with Canada. But what also added to the noise were the fresh attacks from Donald Trump on Fed Chair Jerome Powell, calling his performance lousy, suggesting he suffers from Trump derangement syndrome. That quote is up for you on your screen. Remember, US markets will be shut on Friday on account of Independence Day, so it's a truncated week on Wall Street this week. But as we look ahead domestically, Friday was indeed a very good session. Markets closing above 25,600, highest level since 1st of October 2024. 2% weekly gain. Nifty Bank fresh record high. And also what's important is that the markets, if you look at it, the intraday low on the Nifty has been higher for 6 straight sessions now. It's a bit of a signal of strength in the market. The big cues to watch, IPO Spotlight, HDB Financial Services. What a strong response. It's closed with nearly 17 times subscriptions. Listing will be later this week. On the M&A front, we'll talk about the Torrent Pharma JB deal. Auto sales numbers for the month of June will start trickling in from tomorrow, and the early feedback from Nomura's dealer check suggests that demand remains a bit soft with no meaningful pickup yet. So that's there. And not to forget, Q1 earnings updates will come through starting this week before we get the actual numbers from the IT heavyweights. But Nigel's moved over to the big world. What are the FNOQs looking like?
Well, that's right. You know, we had a very, very strong close to the June series, and July as well has started off in style. And as we mentioned even in Friday's trading session, that seasonally, actually, July series has been very, very good for the bulls, both the Nifty as well as the Nifty Bank. And in terms of the cues that we were looking at, well, the premium on the Nifty futures itself, that moved up a little bit, telling you that there are some long positions that are getting added out there. The question is, who's going to get to the fresh all-time highs first? Is it going to be the Nifty or is it going to be the small cap index? Because, that as well is closer on 3.75% away, while you have, the Nifty that's 2.5% away from the all-time high. So both those two, the broader markets catching up is going to be interesting. And my gut is that maybe in the next 45 days or so, maybe the broader market actually outperforms what the Nifty does. What do the FIs do? Well, not too much on index futures, but on stock futures, there was some covering. So there was a swing factor of close to 30,000 contracts. That is, they covered some shorts and there were longs that were added as well. In terms of positioning, well, they continue to remain net short, but not very aggressively. 62% of their positioning on the short side. In the past, we have seen 80% and we've seen 1 lakh contracts as well. So shorts in the system, yes, but not to a very, very large extent. Moving to the option cues, the PCR. That's holding at around 1.25 odd. That's at closer to around the higher end of the band. But not to worry, that's still moved up a little bit. But why is the PCR moved up? Because there is put writing that's come back in there. So we had the 25,600 put, 25,500 put as well. Fair bit of open interest added between the two, close to around 80 lakh shares. On the upside, we have the 25,900 call that's opened up. And there's a mix of activity. Those who are writing this particular strike, they're looking to pocket the premium of close to around 50 rupees or so. While the other out-of-the-money call buying it was evident as well. So mix of activity at this strike. But you'll have to say that these markets are in an uptrend. And you'll have to participate on the upside with your stop loss at lower levels until you have lower levels that will get violated. So the support level comes in at around 25,250. You have the 20 DMA, and then in fact you have the 50 DMA as well. So that's going to be the important marks that you're looking at. The support I'm talking about 25,250 because that was the resistance when we were trending up as well. And one stock that's really found its form is Reliance Industries. From the recent low, the stock is up close to around 30%. However, if you look at it over the last 1 year or so, it's still a little bit lower. So Reliance Industries getting to those highs of around 1,600 rupees odd, well, that would be key for the Nifty to get past fresh all-time highs and then head above the 26,500 odd mark. So this one's got the momentum. I think it'll have to lead from the front, giving company to the Nifty Bank as well as we trend higher.
Interesting, numbers there. Let's move on now to the equity calls then. It's Mahesh Nandarkar of Jefferies who says the sharp market rebound from March 2025 lows has triggered an equity supply response as expected. He says 75% driven by promoter PE exits. May and June equity supply was over $17 billion. He adds, while the domestic flows have halved, improved foreign flows have helped. He says the supply pipeline remains strong, valuations elevated. He expects the broader index to move sideways but sees several bottom-up opportunities. He's overweight Bharti Airtel, financials, cement, two-wheelers and select real estate.